All right, today we're diving into something that is quietly but fundamentally changing how entire economies work. We're talking about a concept called digital public platforms, and it could totally reshape how you think about everything from your ID to your bank account.
So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that really gets to the core of this whole idea. What if the most essential digital services you rely on, proving who you are, accessing your money, what if those weren't treated like private products, but more like a public utility, like water or electricity?
And that idea of a public utility is so important. The best way to think about these platforms is, well, it's not just another app on your phone. No, it's much bigger than that. Think of them like digital highways, essential infrastructure built by the public for everyone to use. Okay, so what is the official definition? This was really nailed down during India's G20 presidency. A digital public platform, or a DPP, is basically a set of shared digital systems. You can think of them as these minimal core building blocks that anyone, governments, businesses, you name it, can then use to create all sorts of new services for society. And these systems aren't just one giant complicated thing. Nope. They're actually built on three simple but super powerful building blocks that all have to work together seamlessly. First, you need a way to prove who you are, right? That's digital identity. Then you need a way to move money around instantly. That's instant payments. And finally, you need a secure way to share your data, but only when you choose to. That's the data exchange layer. Now, you can't just build these highways any old way. There have to be some ground rules, and the G20 laid out a really clear framework for this. These platforms have to be inclusive, so nobody gets left behind. They've got to be interoperable, meaning they can talk to other systems. Of course, they have to be scalable, ready to handle millions, even billions of users. And maybe most importantly, they have to be super secure and protect your privacy.
Okay, so we've got the what, but now for the big one. Why does this matter? Why are central banks and governments around the world suddenly paying so much attention to this?
Well, when you get right down to it, it's all about financial inclusion and making the whole economy stronger. These platforms just completely smash the barriers that have kept millions of people out of the financial system. And when you bring more people into the fold, the entire economy gets more resilient.
And listen, this is not just some abstract theory. We're already seeing the impact. Globally, these kinds of systems have helped an incredible 865 million people open their very first financial account. Think about that for a second. That's 865 million people who can now properly save, borrow, and participate in the formal economy. This slide really lays it out, the before and after picture. Before, you were stuck with cash, which meant high transaction costs and a real risk of fraud or money just disappearing. But after, you've got direct digital access, super efficient, low-cost payments, and secure transfers that go right where they're supposed to. It's like upgrading the entire operating system of an economy.
So to really see this in action, to see what it looks like when a country goes all in on this idea, we have to look at one place that's miles ahead of everyone else: India. And the secret to India's incredible success really comes down to this one powerful idea, which you see right here in this quote. The guiding principle was to build these platforms as a public good, not for profit. This is so key. It means the private sector can build amazing new things on top of the highways, but they don't get to own the highways themselves. It all started with their digital identity system, Aadhaar. And the numbers here are they're mind-boggling. It has reached over 1.3 billion people. That's almost every single citizen with a secure digital way to prove who they are. And once you have that identity layer in place, what can you do with it? Well, you can do things like send government benefits directly to people. We're talking over $500 billion in direct transfers, which cut out the middlemen, slashed fraud, and made sure the money got to the people who really needed it. Okay, so they have the identity piece. Next came payments. And this is where things get truly revolutionary. They built the Unified Payments Interface, or UPI. And get this, it now processes a staggering 20 billion transactions every single month. That's not a typo, 20 billion a month. And just look at the result of that insane adoption. I mean, this chart says it all. UPI isn't just a player in India's digital payments market. For all intents and purposes, it is the market. It handles an incredible 85% of all digital transactions in the entire country. But it's not just about making it easier to buy things. This has real, measurable economic impact. Studies have actually found a direct link. For every 1% increase in UPI transactions, there's a corresponding bump in GDP growth. When you make it frictionless for money to move, you literally grow the entire economic pie. So, as you can imagine, this kind of success doesn't go unnoticed. What started as a national project in India is now looking more and more like a blueprint for the rest of the world. And India is actively sharing this model, driven by this principle you see on screen, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. The idea is that this technology is just too important to keep to themselves. So how are they sharing it? Well, for identity, there's a project called MOSIP. It stands for Modular Open Source Identity Platform, and it's basically the free open source recipe book for building a system like Aadhaar. India developed it, and they're giving it away so other countries can build their own sovereign systems. And it's taking off. 27 countries are already adopting it or seriously looking at it. And what about payments? Well, there's a really clear three-step strategy here. First, link India's UPI directly with the payment systems in other countries. Second, make it super easy to pay a merchant in another country just by scanning a QR code. And third, the big one, help other countries build their very own UPI-like systems from the ground up. The endgame? Make sending money across borders just as easy and cheap as sending a text message. So let's just recap. What we've seen here is a model that has been proven to work on a massive scale. In India, it has absolutely democratized payments, brought millions into the financial system, and even sparked real economic growth. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question of all. As more and more countries start to build these digital highways, they're all going to have to face this fundamental choice. If this infrastructure is truly a public good, like a road or a bridge, then who should build it? And more importantly, who should control it?